I played 200 days of Stardew Valley Expanded, JOJA Edition. I never thought I would enjoy a Joja Run quite this much, and to be honest, it's mostly thanks to the Expanded mod, but I'm excited for us to get stuck back in. If you haven't seen the previous 100 days yet, you gotta check that out first. You won't want to miss a single thing. I've got some lofty plans for these 100 days, and this is what I hope to achieve. Actually get 10 hearts with Morris since we failed last time. Find all the golden walnuts, complete the museum and get that star drop. Get married. You'll find out to who later. Get level 10 fishing. This skill always lags behind. I want to build the movie theatre. And finally, I want to fill up my Nexus. We'll still be under the same rules as last time, but before we begin, it would make me so happy if you can like and subscribe. Join us. Thrive! And with that out the way, let's do this. My first day back was the wizard's birthday, so I jogged over with an iridium purple mushroom, almost accidentally eating it as usual, but it did complete his friendship, so we're off to a strong start. I placed the chicken statue proudly in my house before picking up and chugging my first Joja Cola of the video. My greenhouse got its final 2 sprinklers, then it was off to the night market to do the mermaid show since I forgot to get that pearl last time. I bought the last painting of the year, then headed home as I didn't quite feel like being humiliated by the blobfish this year, especially on my first day back. Day 102 was a really good luck day, so I geared up for Skull Caverns, but before taking off I found out my secret friend would be Penny this year. This was a win, she's a pretty easy one. This Skull Caverns run was slightly painful because I was low on supplies and I can't just buy bombs from the dwarf, but I did get very lucky with an early prismatic shard. My first treasure floor of this 100 days contained 5 minus treats, which, let's be honest, I'll probably never use, and it was kind of funny getting the mermaid show secret note the day after I already did it. My floor 100 treasure was some quality sprinklers. Yay! I passed out on floor 107, so I woke up the next morning with this lot of loot. I got a decent amount of iridium ore and 3 prizzies, but other than that, meh. Pam sent me a beer in the mail, but I had to dump it on the floor for now whilst I cleared up my full backpack. With all that taken care of, I refilled the jam jars and picked up my gold axe from Clint, which I used to clear up some more farm trees. This wood went towards a barn upgrade. When I went to give Marlon a birthday gift, I got a cutscene where he helped me make a warp for my Nexus. Marlon gratefully received a life elixir, then I spent the evening fishing at the lake to chip away at the XP, getting help from this bubble spot to reach level 8 that night. Day 104 started with a new batch of pumpkin juice and planted another 92 fiber seeds. Evelyn got a fairy rose for her birthday, earning me the popular achievement, and the rest of the day was spent on farm clearance. That night we made 60,000 gold, and the next morning someone was at my door. Camilla was here to whisk me away and tell me my Nexus was beautiful. Apparently we had some important business to attend to, showing me a location in the continent of Galdora. This was the Crimson Badlands, a dangerous place with some very tough monsters, and Camilla brought me here because she had a test for me. She helped me make a warp so I could come back at any time. I grabbed myself a Joja Cola to process that experience, then requested my first ever meal from Robin since I'd never actually built one before. Whilst I was up there, I could give Robin the hardwood for a project, and picked up all the crafting recipes she had to offer today. Morris got some cloth as a gift, then whilst expanding the ancient fruit crop, I harvested the bok choy for Pierre's prime produce. I didn't get 25 gold ones yet, but I did have plenty more seeds to plant. That night, I fished for the squid at a beach bubble spot in response to an old letter from Willie. Glad to have that now sorted. On day 106, I finished replacing the basic sprinklers with iridium ones and prep for spring. Andy sent me 50 Joja Colas in the mail. Oh no. Time to chug every last one. I dread to think about the bloat this would cause, but I walked it off by placing more paths around the farm. Things are slowly becoming a bit tidier each day. Day 107 was Leah's birthday, but for some reason her cabin was locked even though I had more than 2 hearts with her and there wasn't a festival today. It was a max luck day though, so I wasn't waiting around. I returned her gift to a chest, then walked over to the desert for another attempt at Skull Caverns. The treasure floor had a lovely prismatic shard. Then, where I'd usually skip these, I actually bothered to take on the prehistoric floors because seeking out the pepper X's for the Monster Slayer girl when you need them does become a pain. Besides a free crystallarium, the rest of this day was uneventful. I literally only made it to floor 60. On day 108, I was pretty much out of pumpkins, so I had to swap out for cranberry wine, which would have been better than nothing. That reminded me to add to my ancient fruit in the greenhouse. I was determined to have this filled ASAP. I woke Shane up from a drunken floor nap, wanting to buy some animals whilst there, but Marnie was now on her way out. To make productive use of the evening, I accepted the Juicy Bugs quest and started grinding for that in the mines, getting about halfway through that night. Day 109 was our first Feast of the Winter Star. I was surprised to see Morris here, and of course, we had to stop to say hi. I brought with me an emerald to gift to Penny, and my gift giver this year was Leah, who got me an emerald? We did more gifting on day 110 because this was Clint's birthday. From there, I took my first trip to Ginger Island of the video to clear out the dig site and check on the farm, which had some crops to harvest. I returned home to grab that greenhouse bok choy, but as you can see, I didn't quite get the 25 gold ones here. Thankfully though, that was made up by some taro I harvested earlier. Pierre's being closed for now, I headed back up to the mines to continue farming bug meat. On day 111, I went out for a morning walk and stopped in at Andy's, who had cleaned up his place very nicely. He offered me a farmer's lunch, although I suppose at this hour it would be a farmer's brunch, but it was delicious nonetheless. I waddled on over to Sophia's with an iridium fairy rose for her birthday, another friendship completed. Then on to Pierre's to buy the grass starter recipe and drop off the prime produce for 2,500 gold. Having dropped off the bug meat on a previous day, all I had to do now was slay the bugs, which didn't take long at all, leaving the rest of the day for some general farm chores. On day 112, I bought a pricey garlic from the travelling merchant, though let's be real, garlic is always worth it. I brought some maple syrup to the bear in the secret woods, dumping it on the floor of course, in exchange for his special knowledge. This makes salmon berries and blackberries worth triple the price, not that we'll be selling them. Whilst dealing with the ancient fruit, I turned that garlic into seeds, since I won't be buying those from Pierre. Then I was shown this disgusting wriggly mess on my way down to Ginger Island to plant one of those garlic seeds for the frog. I made some good progress with the walnuts today, including finishing the fossils. We now only have 22 to go, and whilst I was in the walnut room, I purchased the key to the town. On day 113, I woke up on Ginger Island completely forgetting about the brand new year. What the? I rushed off home to be greeted by Kent, who was here to introduce himself after returning from overseas. I didn't manage to prep all my sprinklers before the end of winter, so this day contains lots of hoeing and watering, though it was satisfying getting to slash through all that fibre. To even things up, I decided this field would be all quality sprinklers, taking time to make the necessary adjustments. Lewis asked me if I was interested in using this extra abandoned garden space, so of course we accepted. We can always use more land for more gold. Seeds this year, I bought about a sprinkler's worth for each crop, for cooking and for crafting, with the rest of the spots to be taken by cauliflower for profit. I messed up with the planting though, so now things won't look satisfying, but oh well. My lack of preparation meant there was no way I was going to get through the planting of the cauliflower all today, so that continued into day 114, with a quick break to visit Morris for his birthday, finally reaching 10 hearts with him. I was also there to pick up more cauliflower seeds since I didn't have quite enough, and after an entire day of watering, I passed out by the kegs. Another rainy spring the 3rd for my final round of planting. It was then over to Ginger Island to hunt for, well, ginger. I'd stupidly accepted this version of the island ingredients quest, so I'll need 100 of the stuff. I also picked up Skull Cavern Invasion in case I wanted to do it. Day 100. Day 116 started with making more ancient seeds for the greenhouse before looking everywhere for Kent for his birthday. I even looked up his schedule to find out where he should be, but for now he seems to have vanished, so over to the island instead to find more ginger. Since I can't buy coffee from Gus, I planted a sprinkler worth on the island for an unlimited supply, as long as I remember to harvest it. Our garlic was also ready to show the frog, glad to be finally done with his quests and never talk to him again. On day 117, I started filling up the mushroom cave with kegs, leaving them empty till the next wine batch is done. I traded for some artifact troves at the desert, which I took straight to Clint's along with all my geodes for a mass opening, getting a fair amount of new stuff to donate. I passed by Rasmodius protecting his crops from his ex, then bumped into Willy who wanted to show me the king salmon he just caught. I don't think I'll be getting that one anytime soon. On day 118, I started planting ancient fruit on the island. After the next round of the ginger grind, I ventured into the volcano for dragon's teeth and walnuts. But the most fun loot of the day was this dwarf hammer I got from this chest, though to be honest, I'm mainly a sword person. Day 119. In what seems to be tradition now, I wanted to take on the Skull Cavern Key quest on the last possible day. Lewis won't be getting a birthday gift this year. It was all going so well until I got absolutely swarmed by bats. Thankfully, aside from the hospital bill, I didn't lose anything. I headed home with my tail between my legs to plant the treasure sapling, drown my sorrows in Joja Cola, and went to bed. On day 120, I could finally give Kent a welcome gift, which I definitely didn't just get from the mail. For this week's special request, I decided to help Andy with the cellar, and out of all the materials, all I was missing was the iron. I was excited to find some starfruit seeds at the clearers bin today, that's going straight in my backpack. Then, armed with more sprinklers and ancient seeds, it was off to Ginger Island again to expand that crop. I was also here for ginger, but I kept getting my tools mixed up and ended up destroying some. For Lance's birthday, he got one of my few golden pumpkins. Then the evening was spent swapping out my ingredient crops for more cauliflower and grinding for iron in the mines. Marlon was waiting on the doorstep on day 121, asking me to drop by the guild when I have a moment. I dealt with my strawberry harvest, then dropped off those materials to Andy less than 24 hours after the request. Now that's service. On my way out, he wanted to talk to me about some stuff. Seems like he might have been jealous of me at first, but actually, I brought more commerce to the valley, and for that, he was thankful. I wanted to pop in and say hi to Sophia whilst I was down there, but I found her crying in her parents' old room. She was having kind of a rough time at the moment, so I stayed to watch anime with her to help her feel better. I caught Pierre trying to make up for his lack of seed profit by ripping off the local bartender who wasn't best pleased. You won't catch Joja doing that. What I was here for was for a bouquet, which, even though I think you can get it from the travelling merchant, I didn't want to have to chance waiting several years for it, so I count this as required for perfection. And of course, we asked out Claire. Time to go home and make a celebratory batch of wine. For my last stop of the day, I went to see Marlon, who told me his boat can take us to Lance's outpost in the Highlands, but only if I do him a favour first. To get this access, I'll have to give him loads of monster parts, which shouldn't be too difficult at this point. On day 122, Gus stirred his sauce on my porch, which was weird. Then somehow he almost set us on fire. That wasn't all he was here for though. He wanted to give me a mini jukebox and the recipe to craft it, which I'll forget about as soon as he leaves. To make up for yesterday's attempt to scam the locals, Pierre sent me a mini shipping bin which I plonked down next to the greenhouse. I got caught by Jazz whilst checking the trash. Mind your own business, kid. Then surprised Claire at work with a daffodil. After giving Vincent some birthday grapes, it was another round of ginger hunting on the island. Progress was slow, but it was progress. And whilst I was out this way, I thought I should go dungeon crawling on the volcanoes because the monsters here can also drop ginger and this counts towards the island ingredients quest. On day 123, I fished for a while at Shearwater Bridge, realising it had been a while since we worked on that fishing level. I was also sure to pan any spots that came up when suddenly... What? The lucky ring! This is why I now try to bring my pan everywhere. To help with the fishing, I enchanted the fishing rod, taking a couple of goes to get the master enchantment, which adds a fishing level, making the bar a little bit bigger, and this was the perfect chance to now combine the lucky ring with the burglar ring to boost our loot. My remaining Prizzy and Cinder Shards went on enchanting my pickaxe with the powerful upgrade, meaning most rocks will only take one swing to break. Day 124 started with some ginger digging. I jumped right on this bubble spot to help me with the fishing level on my way to check out the travelling merchant's inventory of nothing particularly useful. Andy showed us his brand new cellar and entrusted me with his jam recipe, making strawberries worth 25% more. The greenhouse now contained the wonderful sight of a decent harvest of ancient fruit. These will all be turned into seeds for the island farm. This year's first batch of cauliflower came to fruition on day 125, so I got to work replanting more, praying that I had enough seeds because this is a festival day and all the stores are closed. I did run out on this second field though, so those will have to wait for tomorrow. I felt unprepared for this year's egg hunt, also noting that in the Expanded mod, the eggs change location each year, and even though I did try my best, I decided to let Abigail take the crown this year. The previous day's humiliation was made better by the sight of my first giant cauliflower on day 126. With the harvest now dealt with, I bought more animals from Marnie since she'll be closed for the next couple days, starting with 5 new bunnies. Hopefully you might recognise their names. Then, for the barn animals, I decided to go with a pasta theme. I guess I was hungry, but when am I not? I brought a beautiful flower to the beautiful lady before being overjoyed to find rhubarb in the sale bin since we can't just get this from Sandy. 600 more cauliflower seeds later, I took a detour on my way home to stop in at Robin's to get the barn repainted to be more, you know, on brand. And whilst I was there, I commissioned the tractor garage to be finally built. I fished up the lost necklace from the bathhouse and went foraging at the summit, climbing back down the mountain again to get all those seeds planted. On day 127, I checked out the old shed, but it seemed completely wrecked, so I ignored that for now to clear more of the farm. Marlon had an intriguing quest for us, but we'll handle that later because I had plans to visit Olivia for her birthday, and bring Claire another gift, getting us to 10 hearts. As I passed by Leah, she asked me why I became a farmer. I told her I wanted to escape my old life, which was true when I made the decision, but we all know that story. I wandered around Cindersap Forest making use of salmonberry season, stopping by the bear cave to pick up any cooking recipes, but even though I foraged the entire evening, I only got a few berries. On day 128, I got round to adding a border to this one field, which was really just procrastination for refilling my processing machines. I looted the mineral cave, and it was finally time to take my tractor for a test drive. Oops, I didn't mean to till all those spots. This tractor makes quick work of all the farm trees. I don't think I'll be facing a wood shortage again anytime soon. I set the settings to add a bit of speed and radius, but not too much because I still want things to take some time, but this really does show why I don't tend to jump on adding this mod to all my playthroughs. I don't want to become reliant on this thing, but I think for a farm of this size, it works well. I was very pleased to return with almost 3 stacks of wood. I also got to test it out on replanting this batch of cauliflower too. It's so satisfying. That evening, I wanted to handle Marlon's quests. I dropped off the bombs in a chest, then hand-delivered all of the monster parts he asked for. On my way home, I ran into Claire, who was just leaving work. She asked me why I was up so late. I told her I was still working. Then, she invited me to her place for dinner tomorrow. It's a date. I made a last-minute decision to visit Krobus that night, buying all of his recipes. But I paid for that decision by passing out in the forest. The next morning, Marlon was pleased with my efforts and asked me to meet him at the dock. But first, we had some strawberries to harvest. I hadn't seen any rain for several days, so I used the rain totem to call for some. Then I raced straight over to the Adventurers Guild, where I met Jadu? This is the mage who ordered all those bombs. I'm curious as to why they need them though, and maybe one day in a later update we might find out. As a reward, I got access to an order ledger for some extra decoration, which is redundant since I can't spend gold here. With that over with, we took the boat to the Highlands, where Lance chatted to us about some monster crops, needing my assistance in growing some for his research. These seeds drop from monsters here, so I wasted no time in collecting them and exploring. I climbed to the top of the big hill to fight the dino boss. This thing has a ridiculous amount of health, but eventually it met its demise. Oh, finally. And it dropped a whole bunch of goodies, including a special key, which you'll see what this is for later. I wanted to get the fungus seeds from this mushroom area, but apparently it was my turn to die. I lost a plethora of valuable items. Aww. But it was the salmon berries that upset me the most, so that's what I asked Marlon to retrieve for me. On day 130, I received loads of life elixirs in the mail from Lance. I probably should have waited for these. I got loads of rice shoots from the Highlands yesterday, so I planted them all by the mill. I was popping back into the house to pick up my daily Joja Cola when Robin knocked on my door. She was here to inspect the old shed, and to let me know she could refurbish it with the right materials. We definitely want in on that, but it was going to be a challenge. I retrieved Hayley's bracelet from the beach, but I was here for a more important piece of jewellery, the mermaid pendant. This was the day I asked Claire to marry me. Looks like she'll be planning the wedding from behind the checkouts. It was also raining on Ginger Island, but that didn't put me off planting those monster crops, digging up more ginger, and accepting another round of Skull Cavern invasion. Day 131 began with a pineapple harvest. Then it was time for a new round of geode cracking, scoring just a couple of new things to donate, but I did gain another crystallarium. I made it to Claire's for dinner that evening, a lovely way to celebrate our engagement and see her cute little house for the first and last time. That night, I had a brainwave. I was stressed about trying to happen upon the dairy products at the travelling merchant, completely overlooking the auto grabber in my coop. I just moved it into the barn and problem solved. Day 132 was Shane's birthday. He got a basic hot pepper because I couldn't find any quality ones, but that was still enough to complete the friendship. I trekked up to Robin's to ask about the shed materials. Most of them were fine, but it was the 20 battery packs which would cause issues. Heading back into town, I found Shane, Clint and Emily putting together an ad for Joja, and I just had to take part. Even if I was just an extra, I'm still in it. I caught exactly one fish before a bubble spot vanished on me, then it was back to the island for the bajillionth time in search of more ginger, not just in the ground but in the volcano too. Day 133 was the big wedding. In a very early start, we were pronounced wife and wife, but when we got back home, Claire was hiding behind a vase. Hopefully she wasn't already regretting things. Having carried it around for a while, I finally returned that necklace to Abigail, then it was yet another day of ginger collecting. Why did I do this to myself? On day 134, I dealt with more ancient fruit before digging for more damn ginger, but we now had enough, so the end is in sight. For this week's key quest, I chose the love gifts one, having never done it before, and needing to work on friendships. On day 135, I received the official completion of the island ingredients quest. Now that I have the recipe, I crafted my first solar panel. I'll need more of these to get batteries for Grandpa's shed. My first love gift for the quest went to Claire. The flower reminded me to grab this season's forage from Sprite Springs, then this entire day was spent in the mines for ores and coal. On day 136, I finished moving my crystallariums into the house so they weren't blocked by the tractor garage. This day was the flower dance, so I did the rounds for the friendship points, and then took my place for a dance with my wife. Looks like I'm not doing squats this time, it's lunges instead. I rolled out of bed on day 137 to give my wife a sunflower. I broke my fast with my daily Joja Cola, then tidied up a very messy coop. I can't wait for another auto grabber. Being over halfway through the week, I needed to make more progress with that key quest, so I rained gifts upon the entire town on my way to buy a buttload of parsnips to sacrifice to hold the sprinkler spots for summer. I got screamed at for helping to clear Penny and Pam's trailer, and Penny tried to make it up to me by almost poisoning me. Let's hope this was an accident. I helped a Joja employee in his time of need, relieved to hear that Shane will be okay. Then followed Andy into the woods where he told me about the history of Aurora Vineyard, which we've yet to find out how to acquire. After a day of major socialising, I returned home to swap the ready cauliflower for the parsnip seeds. On day 138, I made a couple of sashimi. After giving Pierre a birthday gift, he got a plate for his quest, saving the other for Sebastian, since he loves this stuff too. I shared some ring fruit wine with Olivia while she told me about the Gotorio Empire and the travelling merchant. Then it was back to work handing out love gifts for the day with a little visit to Ginger Island to place those solar panels, but I kinda got distracted by all the crops that were ready, so I forgot and left. I helped Shane clear up his litter and watched Leah creating some art, suggesting that she have an art show in town. Besides, bringing more tourists will probably mean more profit for Joja. In the evening, I gained access to the dwarf, better late than never. Obviously, I can't really buy much, but we do need the friendship as well as the recipes and the rarecrow. Emily also offered me a drink on the house. I had a good gander at the cocktail menu. The Rosette Nebula looks exactly like my kind of thing. What would you pick? On day 139, I got a decent rebate from all that Joja produce Pierre had been profiting from. Ironic, huh? Claire got the last gift needed to complete the key quest, so I sprinted straight over to Ginger Island to place those solar panels and check the key gem shop too. But when I got there, I couldn't remember what I wanted. What I did remember is that I wanted to be prepared for summer, so I picked up all my seeds in advance. Back at the farm, I harvested the last lot of cauliflowers, including all but one of the giant ones for memories, replacing them with the sacrificed parsnips. Then I suddenly remembered about a Monster Slayer goal I recently hit, collecting that arcane hat and putting it straight on. It was time for a change, I think. The new hat gave me the confidence to revisit the Highlands and use that special key to rescue a trapdoor from all those scary void spirits. Whilst Pierre was having a beach day on day 140, I left him a load of produce in exchange for his gold. This gold went straight to Morris to get that theatre built. I wanted to commemorate the moment with a photo shoot with Hayley, which ended in slight disaster. Thankfully, she wasn't hurt or anything. I was running low on ores, and it was a good luck day, so I posted myself at the mines to hunt for more gold till the clock struck 12 because at this level of funds, I didn't want the medical bill. Day 141, summer was in the air, and a battery was in my mail. Thanks, Pam! I set off the next batch of pineapple wine and cauliflower juice, including the addition of another 14 kegs. Then, it was time for the big planting. As per last season, this area was for a sprinkler each of ingredient crops. Then I hopped on the tractor to cover the rest of the land in melons. Such a time saver. That freed up my evening for a spontaneous trip to Joja Mart, getting the amazing news that Morris would be moving to the valley. His house was soon to be built, but due to an iron shortage, he needed my help in collecting those bars. So of course, we'll do anything to help Morris. I said hi to my wife on my way out when she surprised me there with a star drop. She carried this all the way to work? I guess she must have been expecting me. The perfect place for the perfect gift. I dropped everything that night to gather materials for Morris, even passing out by the furnaces smelting the iron for him. On day 142, Claire made me a lovely morning cuppa and suggested we go on a walk together that weekend. I'm looking forward to it. This entire day was spent mining for more iron so that I could deliver the bars first thing on day 143, and to be honest, he paid me really well for them. I pre-dropped off a load of eggs for Gus's giant omelette, so now all I have left to do is to collect them from the coop as they're laid. Walking past the board reminded me to pick up a new special request, going with Gunther's one because this unlocks the bone mill, which will be our easiest way to get fertilizer. With my usual method, I delivered the bone fragments I had first, then with a healthy dose of monster musk, I got right to it. It only took me a few hours to clear that quest, my next stop being the Adventurers Guild to sell off all the bone swords, and pick up the skeleton masks for all those ones we just slayed. Morris was on my doorstep on day 144, excited that his new home was now built. Pierre followed closely behind to tell me about a Pelican Town mayor election coming up. And who was now running against Lewis? It was Morris, of course. How exciting! Having now unlocked the recipe, I crafted a few bone mills and set off my first batch of fertilizers. I foraged at Sprite Springs and caught a couple of new fish there before bringing Jazz a fairy rose for her birthday, completing her friendship. As I walked into town, I found Morris on his mayoral campaign, telling us of how over the past few years, the town fell under disrepair, which had started to be remedied by Joja. Under Morris's rule, this could continue and Pelican Town would be improved with better infrastructure. We can't argue with the facts. The clearance bin had some free strawberry seeds today. I had to pick those up on my way to check out Morris's new house. Something about it is giving giant Joja Cola vending machine, and I am here for it. And I can definitely see why he needed so much iron. It was nice to be able to come over for some housewarming drinks, but I couldn't help but notice his fun vending machine. Here, you can trade broken CDs for Super Joja Cola. Look at the buffs on these things. It's like the liquid version of a dewdrop berry, and these last all day too. On day 145, Claire and I went for a long walk. I showed her the entire town. It was quite the adventure, but doing this during summer, I couldn't take my mind off how sweaty I would be. I'm definitely more the winter type, but I'm glad Claire seemed to be enjoying herself. When we returned home, I noticed it was a good luck day, and I was dying to try out the Super Joja Cola. Skull Caverns was calling, but to be honest, it was kinda anticlimactic, but at least I could make some progress with the dino slaying. I was out here looking for the auto grabber, but today it felt like I was getting everything but, although 5 prizzies in a day is nothing to complain about. On day 146, I put away the previous day's loot before picking up the last eggs needed to complete Gus's giant omelette. The cauliflower juice was ready this day, which was convenient because this makes a great love gift for Martin's birthday. Before that though was the all-important election day. I knew where my vote was going, but I was surprised to find out I don't actually make the choice of who to vote for, so this did make me a little bit nervous. To my relief, Morris had won. The town's reaction was interesting, but we're looking at a new bright future for the valley. Martin happily received his birthday gift at work. Then of course, I had to congratulate Morris on his major win today. With the goal of improving people's lives, his heart is now in a much better place. I took Claire out for a movie date, getting her a star cookie. The Journey of the Prairie King movie was interesting, but Claire seemed to have enjoyed it, and the cookie too. On day 147, Gus crammed a mini fridge into my mailbox. I had to rearrange some stuff to make room for it, but we make it work for now. Some parts of the farm were still a mess, so I hopped onto the tractor to handle all those trees. Then it was up to Robbins to ask for a house upgrade, because that new piece of furniture made everything just a touch too cramped. The evening was for more cauliflower kegging. This cave was starting to fill out nicely. On day 148, I pet all of my animals and accepted Susan's request for fertilizer. Elliot asked me to join him on his boat for the day, but when I accepted his invite, he suddenly had errands to run. I smell excuses. Over at the pier, Willie showed me a rare and endangered fish. When he asked how life is treating me, I told him I fish every now and again. I wasn't going to tell him I haven't picked up my rod in a while. The first set of batteries was ready on the island, and after accepting a key quest I was never going to do, I returned home to find Morris waiting for me, letting me know of an upcoming large-scale development project. I'm excited to find out what this is going to be. I got the bone mill going again because this counts towards Susan's quest, then took a second trip back to the island to set up more sprinklers with more ancient fruit. I made a decent amount of money that night too by selling some of my excess iridium bars. On day 149, I gave Robin some goat cheese as a thank you for upgrading my house. I wanted to go to the island today, and on my way to the boat, I found Victor hanging out at the graveyard. This was his cat Dewey's grave, who got lost shortly after him and Olivia moved to the valley, and they never found him, so Victor had Robin commission this in his memory. I'm not crying, you're crying. I pulled myself together so I could finish clearing up the island farm and plant all the taro I had, as it was wasteful just sitting in a chest. I didn't want to use more batteries on sprinklers because I was saving them for the shed repair, so I spent some of my key gems on pressure nozzles to be able to plant more ancient fruit. This did take some rearranging though, so the work carried on into day 150, but it was so worth it for the amount more crops I could plant with the same amount of sprinklers. I cleared out the dig site and managed to bring home 2 sprinklers to add to the farm. Then on entering the house, I forgot that it was upgraded, so it was time to move the furniture a bit to make it make more sense. Before I could forget, I managed to get a strawberry to Maru before her birthday was up. That's another friendship down. Day 151 was the luau, and it was cool to see Morris here as the mayor. Lewis is now the event coordinator, so still a very important role. I did the usual rounds of talking to everyone for the friendship points, then dropped the same thing into the pot as last year. If it ain't broke, I wasn't gonna fix it. Another year of carrying that soup. On day 152, I came to observe Susan's melons after completing a quest a couple of days ago. In return, she shared her fermentation methods, making beer, mead, and pale ale more expensive. Not that we'll be making much of that, but the gesture was nice. I had an electrifying encounter with Maru before destroying the crib in the house. We don't want Claire getting any ideas. No children, only wine. I also asked Robin to add that basement because, you know, wine! The rest of this day was spent farming for iron and coal for kegs. Wine! Day 153 was a rainy one, but that didn't dampen my mood because right here we have a giant melon. I've rode my tractor into town. I don't know why I hadn't done this before, so that I could pick up another load of melon seeds from Joja Mart. I drifted through the fields to collect that harvest and cut down more trees while I was at it, getting all the replanting done for that afternoon. That gave me time to check on the coop and tidy it up a bit. Man, I really need that auto grabber. Oh, and I didn't forget about Alex's birthday. Day 154 started with a sizable ancient fruit harvest, perfect for wine day. This will be the first lot of ancient fruit wine we make, and I could not be more excited. Being a Sunday, I traded all my jades for staircases, then despite the bad luck on the cards, I made this a copper mining day, coming home with 180 of the stuff. On day 155, the basement was complete, so I wasted no time in filling it with more casks, which I used to age some pineapple wine I'd been saving up for this moment. All those casks reminded me I might need a source of hardwood, so I planted every mahogany seed I had. I dropped off most of the shed's materials into the chest, the only thing left being the batteries, then added a decking tote situation outside with some weathered paths. Day 156 had a rainy celebration. The Joja Public Works project was now complete. On top of the new infrastructure, there was also the new Joja Emporium, so after admiring all the new paths and streetlights, I had to go check that place out. This is the Joja Root version of the Junimo village. This one sells decorations, various dishes amongst other things, but the most exciting thing was the Joja crop seeds. I picked up some of each. I couldn't wait to get growing these. But even though these are quite profitable, they can't be walked through, so that limits the amount you can plant. As a bonus, when I came out, I got to make a warp here, using a can of Joja Cola of course. I think this one looks amazing in my Nexus. A new week called for a new special request, this time opting for the Curious Substance one. Then I delivered Kent the starfruit he'd been asking for. I decided on having my Joja crops based at Ginger Island for now because the berries could forever regrow there. I had Skull Caverns on my mind for day 157, but not before getting Sam's birthday out the way because that was enough to fill his friendship. Then it was time to hunt for loot. There was only one thing I was interested in getting that day. I needed that auto grabber. One long day of mining later and we didn't get one today. A little groggy the next morning, I stepped outside to find Sam waiting there to invite me to his gig. I now had enough batteries to hand in for the shed repair, then added more paths to this section of the farm. This was the day I tracked down that ectoplasm in the mines, but stayed a few extra hours to farm for more coal and make use of the monster musk. When I went to hand over the goods, I had to help the wizard remove the Junimo problem. Don't worry sir, you're safe now. I exchanged the ectoplasm for some pure rudeness. What a way to end the day. On day 159, I wanted to make those mini obelisks, but I didn't have enough hardwood. As you can probably guess, I spent a lot of this day remedying this issue, but then my journey to the secret woods was interrupted by this picnic with Penny, Jazz and Vincent. Since I was there, I might as well have taught them some things about farming. Then it was back to the grind for hardwood. On day 160, I dug up the green strange doll, and traded for a good amount of artifact troves at the desert. I also wanted to look for the yellow strange doll, but I hoed the wrong spot. This confused me, so I literally ran up and down the entire desert trying to look for another pond. It might have taken me several in-game hours, but I figured it out in the end. Luckily, I did still manage to return within Clint's opening hours to open those artifact troves, but when I went to donate the new stuff, I found Martin in the library looking for information about his birth parents. I hope he finds what he's looking for someday. After a few trips between Clint's and the museum, I had 3 artifacts left and just 1 mineral to complete the museum. I made it to the bus stop in time to go to the city, and now enjoy the show! I got back to town to find some of the villagers enjoying Gus's giant omelette made from none other than thriving eggs. I now pronounce you all united under Joja. The reason I was going in there was because I was on the wild goose chase quest for Birdie. I'd given the Kent the war memento, who gave me the gourmet tomato salt for Gus, who gave me the Stardew Valley roast for Sandy, who gave me the TV remote for George, who gave me the Arctic shark for the wizard, who gave me the Wriggly Worm for Willy, who gave me the pirate's locket we were looking for. Birdie gave us the fairy dust recipe, but it was the golden walnuts we were interested in. Only 4 of them left to go. Day 161 should have been a wine day, but first I wanted to make use of all the coffee since I can't buy any. By the time I filled all the kegs, the first cups were done. So this time I went for making some mead and beer since I hadn't done this yet and I wanted to keep some on hand for gifts. I crafted another 28 kegs this day. Then as dusk approached, I took the boat to the Highlands, where the dwarf we had freed had set up a shop here selling loads of fun decorations and stuff, but I ignored that because only Joja will get my hard-earned gold. I handed Lance the crops from behind a tree, then got a cutscene with Marlon, who was paying respects to fallen adventurers, inviting me to join him for some special meetings. The witch came by that night to leave me a gift. Didn't she also come here last year? Maybe she just loves Joja eggs. I had a few little crops to harvest on day 162. I crafted an oil machine so I could take care of Lewis's need, then gifted a lemon stone that I'd been saving just for the dwarf's birthday. I hovered around the map looking for Susan because I had some chocolate cake for her, when I found out that most of the town were all at Joja Mart. Then it dawned on me. Sale day! The place was absolutely bustling, and I used this opportunity to prepare all my seeds for fall, since they were all 20% off. I went with my usual setup for a sprinkler for each ingredient and an entire stack of pumpkins. Actually, you know what? Make that 2. This was also a good chance to hand out coffee to everyone. I completely forgot about Grandpa's shed till now. How long has Robin been waiting here? The top floor is like a greenhouse. This will house even more ancient fruit, and to the bottom, I'll be adding more casks. On day 163, Lance came over to tell me how happy he was with the monster crops, and that he has a reward waiting for me at the outpost. Morris also came to let me know that Aurora Vineyard was for sale, so this is how you get it in the Joja route. To find out the price though, I'll have to find Morris again at some point, but not right now. Now was for making more wine. Even though I'm needing loads of hardwood, I'll be happy to share some with Robin for a project. Then I tracked down the birthday boy on Sheerwater Bridge. That's another full friendship. That night, I crammed in another sprinkler on Ginger Island for ancient fruit on my way to accept a new key quest, opting for Danger in the Deep. I headed straight to the mines to get started with this on day 164. I got a shirt from a skull, which was pretty cool, but you'll have to pry this Joja shirt off my cold dead body if you think I'll stay wearing anything else. The squid also dropped me a prismatic shard, and I passed out on floor 55, which wasn't bad for the first day. The final batch of melons were ready on day 165. I sold all the quality ones, as well as the rest of the other crops, and kept half the basic melons for processing. I also sold off a lot of my cauliflower because I don't really have many jars and I won't be able to process them all along with all the other stuff I was saving. Since it was a max luck day, I chugged a super Joja Cola before returning to the mines. Annoyingly, I passed out on floor 89, just one before an elevator. But still, progress is progress. On day 166, I made the mini obelisks, with one going by my house, and the other was to go by Grandpa's shed, but for some reason I go to Ginger Island first? It was because it was Leo's birthday, and his was one of the friendships we really needed to work on. But with that ticked off the list, back to the mines. I was determined to make it to the bottom today, but I didn't quite do it. So close. On day 167, I dropped off the hardwood for Robin's project, then made it to the bottom of the mines before midday. I rewarded myself by building the island obelisk, placing it in a temporary spot for now because the mahogany trees were in the way. I went to harvest my personal hardwood supply, but the grass had grown over the spots, meaning the stumps couldn't respawn. The evening was spent hand mowing the grass so that this couldn't happen again. On day 168, I hoovered up the last of the remaining summer crops, before riding my tractor into town to give Lewis the truffle oil. But when I got there, I got the cutscene for Emily's clothing therapy. There were a lot of fun and interesting outfits, but let's be honest, Clint's is clearly the true masterpiece. It's giving summer PJs, but add a beret. I handed Lewis that truffle oil, then went to speak to the real mayor, only to find out that Aurora Vineyard was going to cost us 5 million gold. Oh my god. I doubt we'll make this before the end of this 100 days, so this means we'll be failing the goal of filling our Nexus, as I'm pretty sure that that's now the last location for it. We'll get there, one day. I popped to Sprite Springs for my last chance at summer forage, then rounded off the season by farming iron and coal in the mines. Except this year, I actually remembered to attend the Dance of the Moonlight Jellies. On day 169, I prepped the fields for the season's big planting. Now that I have the tractor, I didn't have to use any seeds to sacrifice to hold the sprinkler spots because tilling and watering was now much easier. The farm was full of grass, and with winter now on the horizon, I wanted to save loads of hay, so I blew some of it up, allowing withdrawing from the hopper, so I could keep refilling the silo and my stockpiles. I got a lot of the planting done by the evening, with enough time to set up an entire new field. I am really looking forward to the pumpkin profits this year. On day 170, Claire received a letter with the news that she got the lead part working for an independent studio in Zuzu City. I was happy to see her working towards her dream, and of course, we'll have to go see the performance when it's ready. I popped to the island farm to check for weeds and noticed the red lights indicating the Joja veggies were ready. These are worth a base of about 1200 gold, but since they're not regrowable and you can't walk through them, I probably won't have these again. Whilst I was there, I accepted the 4 precious stones quest since I seemed to have plenty of prizzies. Then it was time to return to the farm to deal with the wine day duties. I saved enough bottles for the next round of aging, then the rest went in the shipping bin. Lasagna gave birth to a baby pig who will be named Orzo, and between the wine, Joja veggies, and gold star ancient fruit, we made a great amount of money that night. On day 171, I dropped off those 4 precious stones and traded my spare walnuts for even more key gems. With them, I bought my 3rd galaxy soul, and some of the crafting recipes. Then the rest of the day was in the volcano farming for cinder shards, and picking up the island warp totem recipe because apparently I didn't have it yet. I made it to the forge that evening with enough shards to upgrade my sword to the infinity blade. And whilst I was there, I forged in a random upgrade, giving me some extra damage, defense, and crit chance. On day 172, I took all my frozen geodes to open at Clint's, hoping for that last mineral, the hematite. I had no such luck today, but whilst I was there, I asked Clint to upgrade my hoe because it suddenly occurred to me that I hadn't upgraded a single tool in this 100 days. I used this day to try and farm for more geodes, but by the end of the day I got a grand total of 3. On the bright side, Spaghetti blessed us with another baby animal. This new cow will be called Tagliatelle. On day 173, I committed myself to helping Sophia with her fairy garden since I had plenty of time to do it. I bought the fairy seeds right away just to be prepared, then visited Elliot with a pomegranate in hand for his birthday, and now at 8 hearts I'll probably never speak to him again. After handing out coffee to whoever I passed, I added my fairy stones to the crystallariums for the quest, although I forgot to remove the gems already in there, so rest in peace to those jades. Most of the mahogany trees were now matured, so it was time to chop them down, this time only replanting in this bottom section. On day 174, Olivia mailed me a few bottles of nondescript wine which I shoved straight in the shipping bin. I started filling up Grandpa's shed with casks. This will be a lot of aged wine. But then I ran out of hardwood, so it was off to the secret woods to collect more. Whilst I was out on the tractor with my axe in hand, I deforested the majority of West Cinder sap. It was kinda therapeutic, but even on the tractor I couldn't clear the entire forest before the end of the day. It was still a win though, coming back with over 5 stacks of wood. Day 175 was a max luck day, so I got myself ready for Skull Caverns. I was desperate at this point for an auto grabber, to the point where I was disappointed at even the auto petter. But yeah, with the few treasure floors I got, I didn't get it today. But good god, these cactus seeds have got to leave me alone. Day 176 was the start of a new week, meaning new special requests. I decided to help Clint with the outbreak of dust sprites since we could always do with more coal, which, speaking of Clint's, he was my next stop to pick up my hoe and ask for a better one. I got my yearly checkup with Harvey, who signed me off with a clean bill of health. Then I hiked to the top of the mountain to pick up this season's forageables. Back at the farm, I made 33 more kegs, and now this part of the cave is officially full. Oh, and I managed to get the rest of the cast done too. On day 177, I traded all of my diamonds for triple shot espressos. This was a mistake. You'll see why later, but for now, it was wine day duties. I brought a cup of coffee to Susan, reaching 10 hearts and getting the beloved farmer achievement, so I left and re-entered the house to get the next cutscene. I helped her craft a chest of drawers, and in return, she taught me to craft kegs, casks, and preserves jars with less wood, just in time for already having finished all those casks. This wine day netted us over 350,000 gold, and since we're still making kegs frequently, this number will only be growing. On day 178, I was not giving Clint a break. Time for another hoe upgrade. Seeing Clint reminded me that I had a special request for him, so this day was spent in the mines with monster musks slashing through the little fuzzy dudes. 50 dust sprites only took me a few hours, so I shifted my focus to topping up my dwindling supply of copper ore. But I wasn't getting many nodes today, so I gave up and left. What I could do now was take advantage of blackberry season, berries being my main source of food, since I can't just buy a load of salads from Gus. On day 179, I realised my mistake. Berry dust requires diamonds, and I kinda just spent them all, but thankfully it was a max luck day, so I could try and get more at Skull Caverns. I left a rabbit's foot for Jodie's birthday and walked straight to the desert from there. Now, not only was I hoping for that auto grabber, but I was hunting for as many diamonds as possible. I passed out on floor 154 that day, auto grabberless, but I did wake up the next morning with 7 more diamonds and 6 prismatic shards, amongst a whole bunch of other stuff. I added a diamond to the new crystallarium I got to help towards that quest, then I dropped off 4 of yesterday's prismatic shards for Mr. Key's quest again, meaning I can now afford his last 2 crafting recipes. I found Clint working behind his shop on a weapon for someone who goes by the name of Scyther, but I had no idea what he was talking about, so I ignored that because I was here for the next tool upgrade, except Clint was away today. Instead, I spent my money on another pressure nozzle and some starfruit seeds in the clearance bin. I dropped off what I had for Sophia's fairy garden, then I fished the day away because I still had 2 levels to go to max this one out. On day 181, I picked up my gold hoe and this time asked for my axe to be upgraded. I've rescued some freebies from the sale bin before bringing Abigail a birthday amethyst. Birthdays have been absolutely invaluable with getting these friendships completed. Since I already completed the island ingredients quest a while back, I thought it was finally time to harvest all the taro. Leo and I managed to scare the life out of each other, then we had a lovely little chat about his parrot family. This evening was spent like most of the upcoming ones. I fished on my farm to grind out that XP. We got another baby animal that night. This time, a goat named Pappardelle. On day 182, many pumpkins have come to fruition, including quite a few giant ones. I planted even more of the things since we can't seem to get enough, though I did run out of seeds, so I drove into town to pick up some more from my wife. Then, it was back to fishing once again. On day 183, I found out those Joja berries are worth over 700 gold, making them more expensive than ancient fruit. We might have to invest in more at some point. I did a little bit of decorating, then took the bus to the desert to give Sandy a sweet pea for her birthday. I swapped my shiny new iridium axe for the final hoe upgrade. Then, for a bit of a change of scenery, I fished up by the lake this time, reaching level 9 that evening. Day 184 was a wine day, but first I had to go to the fair. I only had a short amount of time to put together my display, but I'm sure this year's variety was enough to knock the pants off the competition. Lewis, however, was less than impressed, handing me a 750 star token bribe, some of which was spent on decor for the farm. When I got home, I rushed to keg the ancient fruit and made it to bed just in the nick of time. The next day, I brought Lewis his shorts a bit more discreetly, and he acted as if yesterday didn't even happen. I helped myself to my iridium hoe before Clint could even get to the counter, then in asking him to open my frozen geodes, I realised I forgot to trade for artifact trays at the desert, so I had to sort that real quick. I returned to him to get them all open, but I got nothing new for the museum. I was worried about whether I'd be able to complete the museum this 100 days, so I focused my efforts on trying to get more frozen geodes for that last damn hematite, and slaying any dust sprites whilst I was there. I wasn't having much luck today though, so I aimed for the skulls and the quarries instead because these can drop the skelly to a hand. I didn't get it today, but the artifact trove was nice. I tried again on day 186 when there were many more of them out to get me, this time with success. I donated some artifacts, leaving the palm fossil and 1 mineral left for the museum completion. The sale bin had yet more free strawberry seeds, and after picking those up, I handed out coffee to the townies. My afternoon was spent foraging in the desert, picking up all the forgotten truffles, and fishing on the farm again. On day 187, I foraged a random amount of ginger, and found that palm fossil at the dig site. I brought Lance a morning cup of coffee, and handed Pam a battery she asked for on my way to open all of my omnigeodes with Clint, looking for that last damn hematite. Spoiler alert, we didn't get it. With the geodes done for today, I could ask Clint to upgrade the watering can, then it was off to Sophia's now that I had the fairy dust ready for her, netting us 35,000 gold. Focusing on all those other things made me realise I'd forgotten about the coop, so I had some tidying to do. I am dying for that freaking auto grabber. Then, in a desperate attempt for more fishing XP, I crafted some crab pots and filled them with bait, which I refilled again first thing on day 188. This day was spent in the mines on the endless quest for ores and coal. I was also looking for any frozen geodes I could find, which I didn't get many, but I did score a prismatic shard, even on this bad luck day. On day 189, I collected my watering can and got Clint to open those few geodes. No hematite today, but we did then ask for another upgrade again. I must be Clint's best customer at this point. As I was now running low on coffee, I hung out in the volcano for the day in the hopes of taking home the hot Java ring, but apparently this was not the day. The silver lining was being able to pick up the deluxe retaining soil recipe with the cinder shards found that day. On day 190, we had some lights letting me know that the next set of Joja berries were ready. For some reason, I randomly remembered that I hadn't picked up the reward from Lance for the monster crops a while back, so I grabbed that diamond one, which should come in handy for the Crimson Badlands one day, as this thing fully yeets enemies away from you. As a thank you for the thank you, I gave Lance one of my golden pumpkins, and whilst I was out this way, I thought I might as well go meet Isaac for the first time, and have him show me the map, which, let's be honest, I'm not gonna remember. I chickened out of doing the Badlands today, instead walking in on an argument about Robin's latest carpentry project. Of course, I reassured her that the aesthetics are perfect. It was the sale again today, but what I was really excited about was the beet seeds on clearance. These will be reserved for Lewis's fridge. I didn't pick up any other seeds today though. Hopefully I'll remember for the next sale in winter. Before the day was over, I rushed over to the island to get the beet seeds in the ground, ready for a future date. Day 191 was a wine day, but this time I also kegged the Joja veggies and Joja berries. Between the kegging and the ancient fruit harvest, this occupied most of my day, but I rounded this one off by clearing up some of my farm quarry to increase the chances of frozen geodes spawning. Between the wine and the ancient fruit, I made nearly 1 million that night. On day 192, I was out for a relaxing morning by the bridge, but it seems like Camilla woke up and chose mischief. She spoke some sort of gibberish, then let me know that the puppyfish now have more friends to play with before promptly disappearing. That was not my priority right now though, because today was George's birthday and I had an Iridian quality leap for him. That's another friendship down. I gave Flint my watering can one last time, then got the desert obelisk built for easier access to Skull Caverns. I also rearranged them to where I really wanted them. On day 193, I gave Gus an early delivery of the lobster he requested and traded a single broken CD for a super Joja Cola. I walked in on Harvey working on some prescriptions, which of course I swore to secrecy, handing him a coffee to help him with his work. I feel like I've been to the mines too many times now, but that hematite was still evading me, so time for more geode farming I guess. And with 13 geodes this time, it turned out to be slightly more successful. My watering can was done on day 194, freeing up Clint to open those geodes, but still, no hematite. I harvested my cranberries and refilled my crab pots, then spent my Friday afternoon fishing at Shearwater Bridge. I caught the kittyfish and the puppyfish amongst other things, but those are super difficult, so I moved to the river where things weren't much better. It's just so annoying. But I did catch the razor trout, finally. What is that? An invasive species released by someone. It has a pattern on its body that heavily resembles the letter J. No way. I, of course, had to show this to the local fisherman, who seemed impressed that I managed to catch it. On my way home, I got that cutscene with Lewis and Marnie, but Lewis's car is gone? How long's that been gone? Was this just a bug for this cutscene? I have so many questions. Not about the relationship though, we all know about that. And yes, I'll still keep it a secret. Day 195 was an enormous pumpkin harvest, and it was the last big harvest of the year. I was excited to be shipping over 1,500 pumpkins on this day, and went back for all but one of each giant crop. That harvest reminded me to go pick up all the truffles, then I fished up by the lake for the day till the Spirit Sea Festival began. This year's maze was very long and really quite difficult, but I made it to the loot in the end, getting 3 golden pumpkins, making the efforts much more worth it. And on this night, we got so much gold from all those pumpkins. On day 196, I made use of my desert obelisk because today was to be a Skull Caverns run. Being a Sunday, I could trade for more staircases. Let's see if I can get the auto grabber today. But also, I was here for omnigeodes because these 2 can contain the hematite. Funnily enough, I got 2 more auto-petters. What's going on? I never get these when I actually want them. Jesus Christ. I held out a lot of hope for this day, and 11 whole treasure rooms and 247 floors later, I passed out at 2 AM, grabberless once again. What do I gotta do to get me another one? And no, I'm not buying one from Marnie. On day 197, I chucked the wizard's gift on the floor because I still had a backpack full of loot. I got another 33 kegs placed in Grandpa's shed, then wanted to drop into the sewers for Krobus' birthday, but had to break up a fight between him and a dwarf. Hopefully, this Iridian quality horseradish should cheer him up. I snapped up the discarded strawberry seeds from the Joja clearance bin, as well as the artichoke seeds in prep for next year. Now that it was winter, there wasn't too much to distract me from my level 10 fishing goal, so this is what I did for the rest of the day. But it got late, so I started to head home annoyingly close to that max level. Day 198 was your average wine day, but also did give a gift of a new baby pig, and I'm not even going to try and pronounce this one for fear of butchering it.
Conchiglie.
On day 199, I caught the final fish I needed to hit level 10 fishing. A huge relief. I had another broken CD, so I traded it again for a super Joja Cola, then I rushed around town handing out gifts to the people I needed more hearts with. When I got to Sebastian's, I was invited to join a run of Solarian Chronicles, getting my way through it to a C rating. Then, it was back to the mines for another agonising hunt for frozen geodes, leaving for the day with just 9 more. For my level 10 fishing profession, I went for pirate, staying true to my inner loot goblin, and then on day 200, I rushed straight over to Clint's with all my frozen and omni geodes. I sold stuff directly to him when my inventory got full, but even with all of those, the last mineral remained elusive. I wasn't giving up. I had tunnel vision for this thing. I came back to him later that day with another 12 frozen geodes, and on the second to last one, I finally got it. I almost couldn't believe it for a while there, but hello Gunther, 1 star drop please. Phew. I really wanted that unforgettable taste of Joja Corp again one last time before the end of this 100 days. I rewarded myself for all that hard work with a nice dip in my hot springs. I couldn't be happier with how much we've achieved in these 100 days, but for now, we go to sleep and get ready for a farm tour. Let's start with our fully upgraded but not very well furnished house. Did we expect any different from me though? Maybe we can look at decorating this next time. The backyard didn't really change too much beside a few new machines, but it was all the new cave kegs I was really excited about. Taking the mini obelisk brings us to Grandpa's restored shed. I'm planning to fill all these casks when the current batch of aged wine is done. Upstairs we have even more kegs, with a second greenhouse type situation filled with ancient fruit. My slightly more Joja themed barn is now filled with fun animals who get a reminder every day that life's better with Joja. And the coop next door is now auto-grabberless, but even with all the mess, the animals in here have been ordered to thrive. We've expanded the crop fields massively this year, now including the totally not genetically modified giant crops. I said at the end of the last video that I wanted this greenhouse to be full of ancient fruit, and we managed to pull that off. This area also got an update with more decking, a mill, some seed makers, and most importantly, the tractor, which has been so fun to try out. Over to the Ginger Island farm, which I forgot to tour last time. This has another wild amount of ancient fruit crops, but it does need decorating somehow. As for the house, it's still completely empty and I don't want to talk about it. I then went to check on the perfection progress to notice I kinda forgot about those last 4 walnuts, so we failed that goal. But our next video will be focused on how close we can get to 100% perfection. Thanks for joining me for another fun 100 Joja days. Please hit the like button if you made it this far and subscribe if you haven't already. Do also hit the notification bell. I tend to premiere these videos, and I'd love for you to join us when the next one goes live. Thank you so much to my channel members, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!